Hello, folks. This is another episode of Chef Matt Hammerschmidt, and I'm on my nightly walk, staying in shape. And today we have a little bit of something out of the ordinary, and I am testing my discontinued model of headset from, I think it's Mairdi, Mairdi, and there's a couple of promo codes and links on Matt Hammer Tech channel. That is capital MATT as in Tom, hammer as in what you pound a nail in with. At least I hope what you pound a nail in. And tech, which is the shortened version of technology. The first letter of each of those three is capitalized. And there you have it. If I have not linked it in this video for some of their products and a 70% discount on several of their products. I'm one of their bad reviews turned into a repeat customer. Figure it out. So today, I am personally on a route that I have dubbed the cardio strength training route. It is not exactly a boring route. It is not exactly a fun route. But it is a route nonetheless. And I'm actually going to do an extended route of that today. I do my nightly walks sometime between 8 o'clock and midnight. And one thing I do to make sure and track my progress is track my time on the now 6 different routes I've created and chosen for my nightly walks. And I can honestly say this much. The cardio strength training route is not for the faint at heart. As you can see, I'm keeping a good brisk pace today. The weather is somewhat humid with occasional rain showers that have been occurring throughout the day. And in the past couple of days, on Thursday, I went to upload the video and I realized it corrupted. Welcome to life of being a YouTube content creator. There's honestly not much I can do to completely prevent that. And I am hoping today that it turns out alright for a video. And on Friday, I took the evening off due to food poisoning. Not going to go into the graphic details, but I just needed to let my body recover. I had gone out to eat on Friday and didn't make it to my destinations because of some food poisoning. And I'll leave it at that. Anyways, this is definitely one of the tougher routes that I do in general. And if it's at the pace is that of something that seems a little mix it look easy kind of thing, hopefully the heavier breathing is the giveaway that it is not as easy as it looks. I have to remember to breathe very properly on this route. And if you are a Cheney High School student and have been wondering, is the $45 for the black with red and white lettering Blackhawks shirt, or hooded sweatshirt worth it? Also known as a hoodie? Yes. It is one of the few go-tos for what I use to keep the rain off of me in warmer conditions. And I can assure you, this walk is no cakewalk. There are 3 things that make it look very deceiving to the viewers. 1, cameras cannot really do a good job of giving a real feel for the terrain. 2, with it being a low light situation, it is playing against me there. And the artificial lighting just is one of those deals of letting everyone know it really sucks. It's spotty at best. So you get what you get. And my Walking with Chef Matt series is a listen while you work type of video. You have got to make sure to take good care of your body. And I'm not one of those guys that's you're here and go from the couch potato bod to the buff bod kind of guy. No, I'm not that kind of guy. But you need to take care of your body and keep it in good shape. And today, what I'm going to do differently is there's a leg of my route that I'm going to extend out. It goes back down and then up a steep hill on the return. Not for the faint at heart, but it is indeed one to keep track of. Some days I do what's called distance walking. Some days I do more of a cardio strength train. Some days I just do cardio distance. I really like to shake my route up a little bit here and there. Although the lighting does play to my favors to keep you, the viewers, guessing. And I can honestly say this headset is a really great quality headset. Over at Myri, they are taking to heart what their customers are requesting. They are taking it to heart. And there's a lot of things that they're doing to try to change up the strategy for getting back on track with their sales, with what products lines they're adding to and taking away from. I told them, you need to continue this line because I need it. It's the one thing that brought me to the brand, that and the quick disconnect. And I can definitely say this is the kind of walk that can kick a man's butt. And as many of you will find out, it is not all that long of a walk, but it sure does take its toll on the body. This particular loop that I'm extending off of is typically, it's about a mile and a half walk, and I'm going to be extending it to a little over 2.5 miles by my estimation. And for those of you new to either Cheney or new to the channels, I don't care what anyone says, because until you've lived here for 5 years out of your life or more, it's going to be really hard to understand. We're way more than just a college town. Way more. We are technically what's classified as a small city by population. However, the bulk of the population of the Cheney addresses, 90% of the Cheney addresses, somewhere between 80 and 90% of them, are in a 1 square mile area in an address coverage area of a little over, I believe it's like 200 square miles. So you get out to the city limits, and now you're flirting with maybe about anywhere from 5 to 30 dwellings in a given mile stretch of road. Some places 1. There's a $15 million home listed. No, it's not 15 million. It's I think it was listed for like 2.5, 3 million. But anyway, my point is, there's only one multi-million dollars place that's listed in Cheney, Washington. Now the part that truly is a butt kicker after having been sick. But I personally, to this day, have had 0 issues with the alleged pandemic, other than my salesman for my tractor package for now, I estimate it's around $45,000 for the package. Not just for the tractor, for the package. And I have to add emphasis on that, because when everybody hears a subcompact tractor package costing $45,000, they overlook the sight of the word package. The tractor itself is approximately $18,000. I estimate it to be upwards in the neighborhood of approximately, but not exactly, $45,000, which is honestly more than double the base of the tractor. I have 3 electronic push button third functions, which I'm also going to be investing another $2,000 into the hydraulic system alone to hook it up to a 12-axis joystick. Yes, you heard correct, a 12-axis joystick. Complete with multiplier. It is literally going to be complete with 5 multiplier valves, and some diverter valves. Now, I might add a 7th or a 6th and a 7th diverter valve in. And this is a very common sight for Cheney here, is to see a lot of heavy equipment traffic. And that is a pre-emissions truck, by the way, that went by. Okay, so we got done with a steep climb just now, and now we're kind of on very gentle grades of between 1 and 2%. For those of you unfamiliar with the grading scale, it's a percentage based on how high you travel vertically based on a horizontal distance. So, for example, in an airplane, you might have a 600 feet per minute climb. When you get on the plane after it's from takeoff till a cruising altitude, you're typically going to be around 500 to 600 feet per minute in climb. And it is done at typically like 200 to 300 knots, which is short for nautical miles. To convert miles into nautical miles, divide by 1.41. There you go, you got nautical miles, which equates to a glide slope of about, they're always aiming to be at about, I think it's like a 3 to a 5% climb slope, except in certain shoes they like to keep that altitude climb at low speeds, so you might have a glide slope of you might have a climb slope of about 10 degrees, which still is practically nothing. In some cases you might have 15 degrees, which for all intents and purposes is relatively small. So a 19-degree slope is only about a 40% grade. And no, it's not a direct correlation. Oh, just divide the degree by this much. No, it's not a direct correlation. Because if you get up past, when you get up to 90, it is now undefined, and that right there boils right back to algebra. Which, for those of you wondering, I was taking algebra at school in freshman year of high school, while taking trigonometry each night at home, being homeschooled by my dad and sister, who actually knew I was being way undereducated mathematically. Highest I made it according to the public schooling system was Algebra 2. And I can honestly say I still haven't used Algebra 2. I've used a lot of algebra, a lot of geometry, a lot of trigonometry, a lot of engineering, some statistics, and data analysis and stuff. But the Algebra 2 stuff, no. To me, it's all useless. I remember a lot of it because I still practice it. It's just my real-world usage was nothing. And I'm not like your average guy who, or I'm not like your average person who sits on their butt, talking out their butt all day at a desk chair. Okay, and it's easy to say, oh, you just need to grade it to a 1% grade on your soils and it'll do just fine. Well, it's not actually that easy. Because in certain cases, like out here, it's nothing but rock. You always bid on rock out here. Otherwise, you're going to lose your butt on a fair amount of jobs. So you will rarely ever, like if you're putting in a lawn, yes, you're going to have to import black dirt, which is extremely pulverized organic matter, and a lot of your export material is going to be stuff like anywhere from rocks the size of the average person's fist all the way up to boulders the size of a person. Now, I have actually managed to break those rocks in half by dropping them on another rock to make them more maneuverable and transportable. And out here, we don't have your typical boulders that are nice, grippy boulders when they're wet. No, this stuff, it's coated in clay. And it's called basalt rock. The clay sticks to it as good as it sticks to itself. Okay. Now this is normally where I normally would have turned left back there. Sometimes I turn left up here. On my big loop, I turn right to come on to Washington right here. Well, on a regular distance loop, I'm typically starting out coming from, coming and going that direction. But today, I'm zipping in the opposite direction. I turned down the quality of my camera because my camera kept filling up on my phone really quickly. Even though it's set at 720, HDR really, it'll mow down a lot of your storage space available really quickly. And truth be told, you don't truly need it. Especially on a Listen While You Work series. I miss the older phones where you could dial it all the way down to like 360 for the video quality. Because on a Listen While You Work series, it's not really important to have crystal clear pictures so much as good audio. And even at 360p, the audio is not much. It's a little worse, obviously, because it's all lower quality technology. But it's not 50% of what it is on this. It's more like a 10% reduction of what this is for audio quality. Now, I know I've got kind of an interesting voice signature in the fact that I have a really deep voice. I'm the kind of guy where if I'm mad, or if you've really bothered me enough where I shout. You know that classic deep military tone voice? And that bass tone voice that you see in a lot of movies, and some of you from the military would recognize from a mile away from a drill instructor. Yeah, I acquired that signature after years of drilling a whole bunch of men and women on a bunch of different stuff. Alright. So this is where I'm extending it out to today. And I'm actually going to take a loop here. And that vehicle that just passed an oncoming was in fact a diesel vehicle. And this is kind of this town overall is really beautiful. In fact, every time I leave town or for more than a day, I really miss this town. When I was forced to move out in 2013 by my family, now they're all loonies. We'll just classify them as that. They're not haters, they're just loony. And it's not just my family, it's a lot of their friends too, and a lot of their co-workers. And it's really kind of a horrible way to treat people in general as to how they treat me. Let's see here. Okay, so another topic I need to cover today is something that is near and dear to my heart, and that is something that's going to come up in the route today. And I'm going to go off right on to it. The individual who was with my mother when she died was never even investigated by the law, never questioned. And that's because the individual was a firefighter. And I don't use the term happens to be because nothing magically happens to be. It either happens by design or it's not happening by design. So if you haven't noticed, you don't hear the word, the phrase happens to be out of my mouth very often. But in this case, I'm quoting somebody who says it a lot. The individual actually was her ex. And the individual stated, I happened to be there when she died. I happened to have been there talking with her about you when she happened to have a major aneurysm. End quote. When questioned as to what he was actually discussing, he refused to go into detail. Now, I know my mother was a very kind, generous, Christ-like woman. And the way I can describe the whole situation is the individual is a leftist liberal voter to this day, which the individual has yet to prove to me that he has not, and he also has yet to prove to me with repeatable science that he is nowhere near guilty of it. And I'm not even going to go into the thing about child support. And notice I'm not even naming the individual by name or any of that. Gosh, this is such an awkward topic for me to talk about. Because it kind of involves why I was arrested and my case dismissed. And that part really, it's difficult to talk about in general for numerous reasons. But it is what it is. And there's a lot of crime and corruption in this town. I love it. I love the people in this town. The people in this town love me in general. And I know that the individuals who really don't like me, who think I'm crazy because I'm exposing them, and usually when somebody accuses somebody of something, they pretty much come after me like white on rice. Well, let me rephrase that. When somebody accuses somebody of something, the original accuser has been found more often than not in the court of law to have been the guilty party. I'm just making sure you don't see the license plate of that car. Out of respect for the person. Alright. Okay. So, you know how people say paranormal experiences and exist and whatnot? Well, very earlier, almost this year, I think it was like January of this year. No, January of 2019. I was out this way, and I felt this strong presence and could hear my mother's voice. And I know what happened. I can't deny it. I know the truth. And when you watch TV and whatnot, and you see a lot of paranormal experiences, a lot of people have noticed what I've noticed. A lot of them are like from the 1700s. Like, come on. Now, I am now standing in front of her last place of residence on Earth. I'm not going to turn the camera and show you, but when I was standing in front of her place of residence, all I can tell you is I immediately knew what happened, as though I were there that day. And she said something that I cannot repeat publicly at the time of her death. And it was not, I don't feel well, I'm going to go lie down. That is a lie from the person who did it. And I bring this out publicly because I know, and I can testify this on behalf of God too, to the truthfulness, and I can testify this on Jesus' name too, that it was in fact a murder he got away with. And I know, they think I'm crazy, whatever. I have a lot of people that have been subscribed to me and following me for some time now and know, nah, I'm not as crazy as they are. I have my crazy moments from time to time. But if I were crazy, if I were acting crazy about that, why would I be this calm? Okay? To them, it's crazy because I'm exposing them. And it really is true that the crazies get a lot less shots off when it's an entirely armed nation. And I can't go into extreme details other than another crime that happened in this area that remains a covered up case. There was a rash of vehicle burglaries in this area that I'm in right now. I went all the way down to Salnave, even around the District 3 area, main firehouse, and even occurred to a firefighter's personal pickup truck where his gear was stolen, allegedly, and allegedly he had no idea who did it. But when I called it like I saw it publicly online, I said, is it possible that you did it and are covering it up? He got very angry with me. His sister got very angry with me. His wife got angry at me. All over that question. They all attacked me online, calling me crazy. Next thing I know, the Adult Protective Services were looking, were checking in on me and yada yada yada. And I have a voicemail from that very same person from a video I did very recently in a response to that, where he said, that does it. Now you confirmed it. You're crazy. I'm calling the state on you. Now, mind you, I had warned him numerous times to leave me alone. And what I can say is this much. That video that I have unlisted temporarily is temporarily archived as evidence for numerous reasons, and I am preparing to do an external recording of the video of the voicemails that I have on record, and put that as unlisted evidence here on YouTube. And also, I just want to casually remind everybody that there's a few of my police friends that are watching my channel on a very regular basis. And this for me is so they can see firsthand what's going on. And I've dealt with frustration since 2010. And even long before that. But I can tell you this factually. It got worse in 2014 when my mother died. And it's mainly been from the very, very aggressive people that are blood but not family. They're legally family, but they're not considered to be family by me. And I went from dining with the enemy to a direct labor trade with the enemy and got all the information I needed. And he never had a suspicion of it until it was too late. I have been called stupid, idiotic, moronic, even dumb, retarded, pretty much every name in the book that's been watered down by the leftist liberals as to names of which that group of people have called me repeatedly. And there's a reason I'm exposing them right now as to even more of what they're like. I'm not wanting to ruin their lives. They're on a path of self-destruct. I'm not wanting any of you to mess with any of them, especially in consideration of multiple of them have bragged about being able to get away with murder. I'm just going to leave it at that and move on. Now, this is where I have to show you, both audially and if I can get a little video, the number one income of this town and the transportation method of it. And it looks as though I'm not going to be able to get a video, get a picture of it. But you know what? I do the best I can with what I have to work with. Which is honestly what I ask just about anyone to do. Is the best they can with what they have to work with. And I am overall a very patient man. Some things coming up are, some things down the pipeline. I mean, way down the pipeline. Y'all are going to get to see a very spec'd out PJ T5 22-foot deck trailer and how I land the hook every time. Might not be the first time, but at least I landed on my own every time. And I have numerous tricks for how to do that. And I don't use trailer balls. I hate those things. And I don't hate much. But those things drive me crazy. And the number one part of those stupid trailer balls that drive me crazy is I've lost a trailer once because of a bad trailer ball on a situation of low stress where it should have never occurred in the beginning. What happened? We all know the story of U-Haul trailers. They got those square, knobby, twisty, turn-down things that we all know aren't worth a turd. Well, it was involving one of those. And it doesn't matter how hard you tighten them, it's going to be a sketchy situation. And U-Haul claims they are the safest connection available. Well, first and foremost, those U-Haul trailers are very poorly built and designed. Now, what you're going to notice about my particular trailer is that it definitely will go the distance. And I'm swapping the coupler out for the pintle hitch option, which is not going to be performed by the dealership. It's going to be performed by me on the lot. And I'll just keep the coupler as a spare. The reason I really enjoy the pintle hitches, to land them, when you hit them, as long as you are pretty dang close, like you can be significantly off by inches and not look like a fool. Like you could be off by up to 2 inches, as long as you're 2 inches to the benefit direction, you'll land it every time. So if you're on a hill and you're worried about are you going to land it, it's always better to aim just a hair. It's always better to aim it so that it's going to push down into the coupler and direct out into the coupler, because as you start lowering a pintle hitch down onto, as soon as you start lowering the ring down onto the hook and clamp connector, you're going to be, that trailer's going to move onto it usually. But there's also another thing you have to make sure you do. This is not optional, this is literal requirement. You have to verify the hitch rating as to what it says on the hitch. You might have a pickup truck rated for 12, 13, 14, 15, or even 16,000 pounds of towing capacity, but that does not mean that you are going to have the actual required hitch to do that kind of weight. You might have a class 3 only rated for 6,000 of undistributed weight and 11,000 of distributed weight, but that by no means is going to be a reliable hitch. If you're going to be using a pintle hitch and having consistent heavy loads in general, like if you're going to be up north of 6,000 pounds on 3/4 ton and up, make sure you have a class 5 hitch sufficiently rated, because on a 3/4 ton pickup, you can have 1,500 pounds of hitch weight, but it doesn't mean your receiver's rated for 1,500 pounds of hitch weight. Your receiver, if it's rated for 6,000 without distribution, you're only good for 600 pounds, and that's it. And these pintle hitch style trailers, you're not going to use something like the Anderson hitch or a weight equalizer. No sir, no ma'am. You're going to have all that weight right there usually. So you also better be really good at loading a trailer, good and balanced. A good rule of thumb that I abide by is if it's a single axle trailer, I like the weight of my load to be concentrated to the dead center of the deck as close as I can get it. If it's a multi-axle trailer, I like to keep the weight concentrated for balance somewhere in the neighborhood of center of the very first axle on the trailer as you head rearward, and the front of the fenders. Now, up on the pipeline for years down the road, I plan on building a one-off custom boat. Wood and fiberglass boat. Now we all know there's a reason the acronym BOAT is around as break out another 1,000. Well, that's going to be one boat that almost every component, well, every system individually is going to be a case of break out another 1,000. It's on one of my bucket list items to do is build and operate a twin-engined boat with the engines individually being a super twin compounded turbocharged behemoth of a 7.3 diesel engine. 7.3 liter Power Stroke diesel engine with either each coupled to either a 4-speed or 5-speed automatic transmission. And it's going to be a huge weight puller. It'll pull so much weight behind it for recoveries from, for example, there's Adventures with a Purpose channel. Adventures with Purpose channel does a lot of underwater recoveries and stuff, cleaning up waterways in the Pacific Northwest, which is Oregon, Idaho, and Washington. Whew. Well, folks, there you have it. That's how Marty products are. And I hope I'm saying it right. And interestingly enough, Marty did not even know I had a YouTube channel until I told them, which is very nice. Because ultimately, I don't like people approaching me with products and stuff that actively know that I run a YouTube channel, let alone 6 of them. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is where we wind it down and wrap up the video. So, in summation of this video, keep your friends close, your family closer, your enemies closest. Be careful who you associate with. There is a reason in the law. There is this tactic called guilty by association, and that is something I experienced firsthand. And maybe, just maybe, people might actually have something click in their brain and say, I need to get out of this situation now before I wind up incarcerated for life. Anyways, this is where the hub used to be for STA out here in Cheney. It is the pub, and it is still actively under construction. And it's been that way for, I want to say 3 years now, 2 years, somewhere in there. But remember that, folks. Be careful who you associate with. Keep your friends close, your family closer, and your enemies closer than your family. And you can solve problems with words, because I have done so repeatedly. I did it twice with 1 week alone. On Tuesday, I cross-examined a bus driver who attempted to refuse me in denial of my medical rights in this country. She let me ride. I've always been a paying customer on STA. And, as always, I hope you learned something, and I hope that you enjoyed the video so much that you feel compelled to give me a rating, a comment, a subscription, or maybe even a ring of the bell if you're already subscribed. Also, I ask you if you feel compelled to do multiple of those, do as many as you feel comfortable. Anyways, everyone, stay cautious out there. It's a cutthroat world we live in. And the leftist liberals don't make sense to me either. And I can tell you this much. I've about had it with the regulations under Democratic Party. And I've about had it up to here with the government entirely. Donald Trump had pulled off a darn miracle with me in getting me to join his campaign committee as a Trump team leader in Eastern Washington area. It was not easy. But this year I have acquired 2 leadership positions in general. Thank you all for watching. As always, be safe out there and live free or die hard. And don't give up. Stick with your dreams.